Hi there, how are you? I'm good. Yeah, so I am actually here from Floor and Decor. I hear you've been having some issues with the flooring. I see. Yeah, let me set my folder down really quick. And I know that they did come out and kind of assess the issues and the problems with the flooring, but I do just want to look at it myself, just so I have a good idea of what we're working with. And then, as you know, I did bring along some flooring samples today that we can go through so we can pick out another floor for you, okay? Oh yeah, not a problem. So I do see some buckling right here. Okay, so that is kind of separated. And then is this one of the cracks right here? Okay, yes, so I can see that that piece has broken off. And you know, this floor hasn't even been in for 2 years. So that's definitely an issue that we'll have to fix, okay? And these are known to be pretty good floors. So is there any other areas? Yes, it's all I see over here. It's all kind of separated. It doesn't look like it's in fully. And then I know you said there were some other cracks. Oh, this one over here. Oh yeah, that one's a lot larger. Okay. So what the contractor mentioned to me was that they did install the flooring underneath the cabinets. And while that's not always an issue, because you do have granite, it does make the load a lot heavier. So when we put a floor underneath that, it can kind of cause some buckling, and that's what we are experiencing here today. So this floor, as you know, has been discontinued, this specific SKU. But I did bring along some samples of things that are similar, and you did send me some inspiration photos that I kind of took some of that appeal from, and I picked out some different flooring. So let's just see what you like the best. So I know we're getting this installed this week, right? Okay, perfect, because we do have all of these in stock right now, and these are all wood samples from Floor and Decor, okay? Okay, so let's just start out with this first one. Now I do have to say that this specific sample is a lot similar to your flooring now. So if we compare, this is very similar. It's not exactly the same, but it does have a lot of similarities. So I'll tell you a little bit about it. So this is actually called Deerfield Grove, okay? Now, this is a waterproof, rigid core, luxury vinyl planking, okay? So pretty much the same style as your current flooring. The brand is same as this floor, the new core, just a different SKU. So the size is actually going to be a little bit different. See how it's a little bit wider? So the size on this one, each plank is 8 millimeters thick and is going to be 9 inches wide and 72 inches long, okay? And this does have a cork attached, so that's going to make it a little more quiet, more warm. You do have a cork attached with this flooring as well, okay? And then it is extreme scratch resistance. So I know that you do have a dog, is that correct? Okay, so this is great for that because it helps to resist from scratching from nails as well as from heels and things of that nature, so, okay. And yeah, so this is definitely the most similar that I brought today. Like I said, I couldn't find anything exactly the same because they did discontinue this specific SKU. The pricing on this one is $3.99 per square feet, and the full box is going to be $106.81. Okay, And then as you can see, this definitely has that same texture and glossiness. It's more on the matte side, has a little bit of shine. It's not a glossiness though, I would say, but it does have that embedded type of wood graining to it, which is really nice. And it does match and feel similar to what you have now, okay? So that's our first option. Do you have any thoughts about this so far? You don't love that it's wider? Yeah, the wide is not for everyone, but it's definitely an option that, you know, if you have maybe a larger home, or if you just like that larger plank look, that would be something more for you, but, you know, not everyone likes the wider look. Yes, me too. I'm not a fan of the too wide or too skinny. I like what you have now. This width and the length I think are really good. Okay, let's move on to the next option. Okay. Now this one is going to be a little bit different. So what you have right now is definitely on the beige side, but pulls a little bit gray, a little bit more cool toned. Now this flooring right here is going to be a little more warmer than what you currently have, okay? So I will tell you some information about this. This is called the Big Sur. It is waterproof, hybrid, resilient plank. So it's very strong, very durable. It also has the cork pad, which is going to help with insulation, stuff like that. The brand for this one is Optimax. Now this is going to be your best planking here at Floor & Decor. It's very good quality and it really does just perform the best, okay? The size of this one's going to be 8 millimeters thick, 7 inches wide, which is what you currently do have now in terms of the thickness of the plank. And then it's 51 inches long per plank, okay? So this one has maximum scratch resistance with extreme scratch warranty. So it's got an extra little bit of protection in that sense. So I know you do have a dog, but do you have any kids running around or anything that might, you know, warrant needing more scratch resistance, or just the one dog? Okay, no problem. And the price on this one is actually going to be $349 per square foot, and the entire box is $84.91. So that's going to be per box, okay? Now, looking a little bit more closely to the wood itself, it does have a lot of graining built in to the color and the design, but when you look at it from the side, there's definitely a lot less texture in the way it feels compared to the other one we previously just looked at, and with the current flooring that you do have now. But because the appearance of it is so grained, that's not something that I would think would be a big issue. There is still some texture, just not as much. It's definitely a lot smoother. But some people like to have that woody texture and feel to it as well. So what do we think about this one so far? What do I think? I actually love this color. I think it's a really nice warm color, but looking around, I do see that your kitchen has some cooler grays as the cabinet colors. So if I look at that plus the backsplash, it looks like you have more of a gray theme going on than a more neutral beige theme. And for that reason, I think this might clash a little bit with the cabinet and backsplash. However, if you were to use this in another room, maybe that would work. But for this instance, since it's going throughout the whole house, with what you have going on in here, I would say that this is pulling a little bit too warm. Do you feel the same way? I do love it though, yes. And it's a very good brand, high quality. Okay, no problem. And I have 2 more samples here for you. Okay, this one is actually very, very heavy. Okay, now this is going to be our Pompano Pine, and it is a waterproof rigid core luxe vinyl planking. This one also has the cork pad on the bottom of it. The brand is going to be the new core, but it's the Whisper Core line. So basically that is kind of aiding in sound reduction. It has some cool technology that helps with, you know, the echoes and things like that. So this is an extension on the brand new core, okay? And this is going to be 7.5 millimeters thick, 7 inches wide, which is what you currently have, and 48 inches long per plank. And this is heavy scratch resistance, not maximum, just heavy scratch resistance, okay? And then the pricing on this one is going to be $3.99 per square foot, and each box is $66.11, okay? Now, if we compare this to your current floor, we can definitely see that it is a little bit darker, okay? It's not too overly dark, but it definitely is a shade darker. What I think you would specifically like about it is it has the same look to it. Because this is the same brand, they do make things that are similar. So it does have the same texture, so you feel that woodiness to it, as well as the specific design of the actual wood itself. It is a lot similar to what you currently have going on, but this is a little warmer, but because it is a little bit darker, it does pull a little bit better with the gray cabinets that you have. So I think that that would definitely be a better option. The Big Sur was definitely a little too orange for the cabinets that you currently have, and the kitchen design, and then the rest of the furniture as well. But I genuinely think that this color would be a lot better because, like I said, that darkness kind of pulls a little bit more of that gray into it, and it would be a little bit more cohesive. So this is 7.5 millimeters thick, 0.5 millimeter less than the other ones we previously looked at. Still very good quality, and this is the heaviest sample that we have. So it's a really durable, high quality flooring because you don't have, you know, kids running around or multiple dogs or multiple animals. You know, you might not need maximum scratch resistance. So this does have heavy scratch resistance. It's not going to scratch when you just walk on it with your heels or if your dog's running around. But some of them do offer more scratch resistance, but we can talk about if that's important to you in a little bit. So what are you thinking so far on this one? Okay, you like these like horizontal, like distressed look to it. I actually love that as well. And the texture of it, if you want to feel down here at the bottom, yes, it feels very similar to the flooring that you have now, and honestly feels maybe a little bit more textured. What I'm feeling on your particular floor is that the etching feels like it's more dug in. This one feels like it's more on top. Does that make sense? Like it feels like it's more raised, and this feels like it's just dug in. So it definitely feels like less texture, but this feels like a true woody texture. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely like this one. Okay, let's look at our last option. And then if you don't like any of these, feel free to let me know, and I will be more than happy to go and pull more samples for you, okay? Okay. Let's grab this last one here. And again, I am so sorry that this has happened. We take really a lot of pride in our work and, you know, our products. So I I apologize for this whole instance. Okay, now this one is a lot different, okay? But I did want to pull something that was very different from what you currently have. But I did see some of your inspiration pictures had some darker colors, so I did want to pull at least one. Now this is called the Gunstock Oak. It is a waterproof rigid core luxury vinyl planking. Again, this does have the cork pad on the bottom. The brand for this is Nucor, just the plain Nucor, not the Whisper Core. Now this one is 6.5 millimeters thick. It's 7 inches wide and then 48 inches long. And this one is also heavy scratch resistance. The price for this is $3.19 per square foot, and a box is going to be $73.27. Okay. So yes, this one is 6.5 millimeters, so it is a little less thick. And how that might show up is maybe in, well, basically, the thicker it is, the more durable and long-lasting. So that's something that you should keep in mind as well. But between 7 and 8 is a really good place to start or be. So let's compare this floor. Now this is a lot different for multiple reasons. As you can see, all of these samples are not super glossy. Because I noticed that in all of your photos and in your current floor, there's not a high gloss or a high shine. So I kept to that same like semi-matte satiny look to each of the planks. Now this one does have a lot of wood texture, which I know that you enjoy, and it is definitely a darker wood color. Besides that, the other thing that is the most different is the actual design and variation of the wood itself. So if you can see your current floor, you have a lot of curves, there's circles, little notches in the wood. This is more just a straight wooded feel. So it definitely would look a little bit less authentic and would look more just like a traditional hardwood floor as opposed to this type of variation, okay? And I know that is a little bit different, but I did just want to bring this just in case you liked it. If you want to take a, if you want to touch it and feel to see how you liked it. It is very nice, yes. And sometimes a dark color can look great. You're worried about the sizing of the home and the color. So yes, so typically when we put a darker color inside a home, it will make the area feel slightly smaller than if we were to put a lighter color. So, you know, you have to take that into account. Now your home is on the smaller side, I would say, because there's not too many people living here. However, I still do think this could look good, but it definitely would completely change the look of it in here, and it might make it feel a little smaller. If you're worried about something like that, then I would probably steer away from this. But it's a very rich color, so I think it would definitely look good with your cabinets and look good with everything else that you have in here. So okay, yeah, let's do we can do a side by side. Okay, I'll keep this one here and then I'll do the other the other three. So that's the Gunstock Oak. This is the Pompano Pine. Okay. Then we have the Big Sur. And then here is the Deerfield Grove. So when we put all of them next to each other, you can really see the differences more. You can see that this is a lot more warmer than the rest. This is most similar to your current flooring, pulling a lot more gray. This Gunstock Oak is definitely warmer, but it would still go with what you have in here. And then the Pompano Pine is kind of a combination. It pulls a little more warmth into the space, but it also has the gray to make it feel more cohesive to what you currently have. Okay? So out of all of them, which are you liking so far, just from the look of it? So you like the pompano pine and the gunstock oak the most? Yeah, you want to change it up. I totally get it, of course. Yeah, I just brought something similar just in case, because, you know, I know to redo this floor, maybe you wanted something that was the same. But I definitely totally understand. These are all great options. They're very high quality, very durable, long lasting. They all have scratch resistance. So you really can't go wrong with any of these. It's more about color, size, and you know, the pricing, as well as maybe some of the features. You know, this one is a little smoother, others are more textured. Do you care more about durability? So we can talk about these things. So let me get these packed up and then we can sit down and kind of go over and see what we can fit in for the budget, okay? Okay, perfect. So I'm just gonna grab these. Oh, yeah, I've been working here for about 3.5 years now. Well, I've loved interior design always, and you know, this was something that kind of fit that. I have always wanted to, you know, kind of renovate and flip a home. So this was something that definitely helped me to get that design itch out of the way, or to fulfill that. So that's why I kind of got into this field. But I love helping people with, you know, their needs, being that customer service, and I really do enjoy that. So yeah, and could I just set up my little notebook here at your table? Okay, perfect, thank you. Okay, so let's go over the budget and everything, and then we can figure out which of these options would be best for you, okay? Okay, let's see here. Okay. All right, so let me see here what we have to get first. Okay, so I do just want to ask what your current budget for this is. I know that we are actually doing the service for free, so you're just going to have to cover the cost of the flooring itself. So yeah, what is that budget going to be for you? Okay. So 2,500 to 3,000. Okay. And as for the square footage of this home, how many square feet is it, would you say? Okay, 1,120. Now, I know that we do have some bathrooms and a laundry room that are covered in tile. So do you know the square footage of everywhere that we would be doing the actual wood flooring? 800 square feet, okay. Okay, so I know you said you really liked the pompano pine, which was the warmer, a little bit darker color, and you liked the gunstock oak, which was the deeper color. Now I do want you to think about how those floors are both going to look in here. So if you look at your current floor, the pompano pine is going to look similar to what you have now, but in that different color. Now, if you do go with that gunstock oak variation, the actual design of the floor and the striation, I guess you could say, of the wood is going to look a little bit different. It's going to look a little straighter. It's going to add a little bit different type of dimension and feel to what you currently have going on. Like we talked about, this is a little bit of a smaller space, so the darkness and maybe not go with everything, or will make this space feel a little small. Looking at your furniture, so I see this is a little bit of a darker table. I see we have mostly darker color wood furniture in here. If you were to do the gunstock oak, that might be too similar of colors to, be with each other. It might not look the best, if I'm being completely honest. Obviously, furniture is very interchangeable. Doesn't have to be permanent. You could do whatever you want with it. But I do just want to let you know that so that we can keep that in mind. So you definitely don't like the Big Sur. You do like it, but it's just not for this house. Yeah, I totally get that. You can like something or you can love something even, but if it doesn't go with what you already have, or you can't adjust it to go with what you already have, then I would say it's not for this specific project. Just because of the gray and the cool tone of your kitchen, I just feel like it wouldn't go as well as some of the other options. Okay, so no to the Big Sur. And the thicker one, that was a little shorter, that one is most similar to this flooring that you have now. You don't want to do that one either. Okay. So that was Deerfield Grove. Okay, so if you're between the gunstock oak and the pompano pine, let's just do a price comparison to see where both of those would have us end up price-wise, okay? So gunstock oak and pompano pine. So actually, I'm gonna run over here just to look at the prices real quick of each one. I'll be right back. $319 per square foot. And $399. $319 and $399. Okay. So the gunstock oak is going to be $319 per square foot. The pompano pine is going to be $399 per square feet. Okay, so we're going to go off of the 800 square feet that is going to be replaced in this home. So we're not going to go up the 1120 because that doesn't take into account the bathrooms and the laundry room. So let's just go with the 800 and we're going to see what the total would be for the cost of each of these floors. Okay, so we have $319 times 800. Okay. And the pompano pine. $3,192. Okay. So there is going to be a little bit of a price difference in these. So if you do the entire floor replacement in the gunstock oak, it is going to be $2,552, which actually fits perfectly into your budget on the low end of your budget, which is nice. If you go for the pompano pine, it's going to be $3,192, which only goes over your budget about $192, $200. So, honestly, that just depends if you want to go over your budget. Again, it's not going majorly over your budget. I can tell you the difference between the two. So it is a difference of $640. So let me write that down. Okay, so as for the differences in each of the four, we obviously talked about the coloring and the variation of the specific wood, but let me go just take a look at each one and see what the scratch resistance is and if there's anything notable that we might want to take into consideration. Okay, so they're both the same type of brand, quality, but there are some differences. So the gunstock oak is 6.5 millimeters, so I'll just write that down here, thick, and the pompano pine is going to be 7.5 millimeters thick. So you do have some extra durability with the pompano pine. And then something that you get with the pompano pine that you don't get with the gunstock oak is that you have the whisper core sound reduction technology. So this is going to help with echo, with the sounds of the actual flooring itself. So it is a little bit more higher quality for the pompano pine, which makes sense for the pricing of it. So what is most important to you? Do you care most about the price, about the color, about the durability features? They're both heavy scratch resistance, the same, so they'll be similar in that regard, but okay. So you're definitely wanting it's more important that you get the color that you want. Okay. And the price? Not as much. Well, because these are very close to your budget, well, the one is inside of your budget, the very low range, and then the other one is just slightly above, then maybe that's something that we could definitely go for. So the pompano pine, you're definitely leaning towards? Yeah, for only a $640 difference, you get more durability, so an extra millimeter of thickness on it. You get the whisper core sound technology, and you get a color that you really, really love. Not only that, but I think it's a color that would honestly go a bit better with your current design and your current furniture and decorations, stuff like that. Okay, perfect. So it's going to be $3,192 total. So what's going to happen is, we already have the date scheduled this week for us to go ahead and do this. We do have all of these in stock, so there won't be any ordering, so we'll be able to start directly on time. We'll probably come around 7 in the morning, and we'll get done probably around 5. Now, for a size of this home, especially because you do have furniture laid down, it's not like there's no furniture and we're just putting the flooring in. I will say it'll be 2 days, maybe 3. So just take that into account if you need to make any arrangements. But you will get billed for the product itself, not for the service. That's going to be completely free and on us, especially because of what has happened. But you will get that invoice when the work is completed, because it depends on how many planks we use or things of that nature. Okay, well, honestly, do you want to hold on to the samples just so you can just take a look at them and make sure, and you can maybe compare and talk to whoever you want and see if you're dead set on that option, or just so you can look and be sure in your decision. Yeah, of course. No, there's just samples, and on the back there's an information card on each of them, so you can also feel free to take a look at those. Okay. I'm so happy that I was able to help you today and find you something that worked, because sometimes I bring stuff out and sometimes it's not what the customer wants, so I have to go and get some more samples. But you definitely gave a lot of inspiration photos, so it was a lot easier to to pick out ones that more suited what you were looking for. But I did want to bring, you know, a variety. You know, I brought something that was similar to what you have, something a little bit darker, a little warmer, one that was a little too warm, and then one that was a lot darker. So it was some variation, but I'm glad we were able to find something that you actually loved. Yes, and you should not have any problems with the new floor, especially because we will not be installing this underneath the cabinet, so you should not have that issue. If anything happens or if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to us, okay? Okay, well, thank you so much, and we will be in touch. Okay. Bye-bye now.